Dragon Age Origins is the best game ever made. In this video, we'll discuss why Dragon Age Origins is indeed the best game of all time, and why you should not miss out on playing it based on my completely unbiased and objective opinion that I'm sure 100% of viewers will agree with, and will generate commentary only telling me how perfectly correct I am. In this video, we'll go through its development goals and objectives, how Bioware stuck it out through delays in being acquired by EA, and explain why ultimately, the release of Dragon Age Origins redefined what it meant to create a masterpiece fantasy RPG by using truly talented writing to deliver complex characters, true moral dilemmas, and an epic storyline. This is the latest entry in a series of videos exploring how many games have gotten impressively huge and committed fan bases, and what is great about each of them. If you haven't noticed it yet, the title is not serious, although it could be in this case. Like most games covered by this series, Dragon Age Origins had a lengthy and challenging development cycle that endured ups and downs solely by the dedication of its talented team. The more of these games I explore, the more obvious it becomes that developer passion is at the forefront of success, and it often involves spending many years exploring how to properly realize the ideas of a team. Development for Dragon Age Origins began as early as 2002 and was not announced until E3 2004. The game would be rebranded from just Dragon Age to Dragon Age Origins in 2008 and go on to release in 2009, meaning it was 6+ years in development. The Origins tag in the title was meant to highlight the studio's return to the high fantasy genre after their success with Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic and Mass Effect, and act as a spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. Both also best games ever, by the way. The development team faced numerous challenges, including the often insurmountable task of crafting a new intellectual property from scratch and building a game engine capable of rendering the intricate details of Freldon. This was a colossal effort for what was a smallish studio at the time, with over 3 years of preparation before full development could even begin, plus a massive delay due to the engine switch from the Neverwinter Nights engine to the Eclipse engine. Dan Tudge, the game's director, made it clear in several interviews that they saw their audience as core RPG fantasy fans and felt the studio thrived in that setting. Wanting to give Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights a spiritual successor, they set about establishing what players cared most for, what was integral to the experience, and how to deliver that experience in a modern setting. So it was that David Gator, the lead writer for the game, did extensive world building before going in to create a story. This is the same approach that From Software took with Elden Ring, as George R.R. Martin created the world and setting, and From Software a story within that world. This is an incredibly important part of convincing fiction, which is unfortunately an often ignored component in gaming. Many developers create a plot or storyline and then try to make a world that justifies that story, leading to bland and shallow experiences that don't inspire beyond the obvious and are often superficial and nothing more. The fact that this was noted and a goal from the get-go is likely the reason for the enduring success of the title and the franchise in general, as they specifically set to aim for a ground between Lord of the Rings and A Song of Ice and Fire, and spent their time, effort, and money in committing to that vision, despite the economic challenges of delays due to the project's extended timeline and the inevitable staff turnover plus the disruptive engine change. While the exact figures for the development's budget and staff numbers have not been publicly disclosed, it's evident that Dragon Age Origins was a significant investment for Bioware. The project involved 180 developers across various disciplines, including writers, artists, programmers, and designers. The scale of the game required a massive collaborative effort to bring the rich world of Thedas to life. One of the critical milestones was the creation of the game's unique origin stories, allowing players to experience different prologues based on their chosen race and class. This innovative feature required extensive narrative branching and character development to ensure each origin felt unique and impactful. Whether you're a noble human, a casteless dwarf, or a Dalish elf, your background influences how the world perceives you, adding layers of complexity and replayability, and changing how you experience the whole game. But that wasn't the end of it. The team had correctly identified that to deliver a truly story-driven experience that is as emotionally engaging as they wanted, branching storylines and complex narrative choices were a must. Party relationships were also identified as one of the key components to the Baldur's Gate fanbase, so a significant portion of development and storytelling was dedicated to creating these complex scenarios while ensuring progression was possible regardless of your path. Thanks to the world-building efforts of David and his team, Dragon Age Origins offers an expansive world filled with its own history, cultures, and politics. The game's setting, Thedas, is meticulously crafted, featuring diverse regions like the war-torn kingdom of Freldon and the mystical Fade. Lore is woven seamlessly into the gameplay through books, dialogues, and environmental storytelling. These elements that are often relegated to flavor text are instead consistently referenced and checked as you play, justifying decisions, belief systems, and approaches, not just for you as the player, but for every NPC you come across, which again makes it believable and convincing as its own immersive world. At the heart of Dragon Age Origins are its unforgettable characters. Companions like Morrigan, Alistair, and Liliana don't just feel like NPC party members, they're fully realized individuals with their own motivations, secrets, and moral compasses. The game's approval system requires players to consider their companions' values when making decisions, leading to richer interactions and, in some cases, dire consequences. The relationships that you develop with these party members can therefore feel really genuine and help you immerse into the world to the point where you really care about what you're doing and what is happening, and that's when the game ups the ante with a myriad of morally ambiguous choices. The moral choices presented in Dragon Age Origins are rarely black and white. Should you save the village at the cost of a priceless artifact? Do you support the power-hungry Templars or the freedom-seeking mages? These dilemmas force players to ponder the repercussions of their actions, both immediate and far-reaching. The reliably good writing and seeing these choices play out in the long term was a key component to the success of this game, and the reason why so many played it again and again. Gameplay-wise, Dragon Age Origins came at a transitional time in the industry where the idea of an old-school RPG would have scared away most investors, as consoles were taking off and more modern-style adventure and shooters seemed to dominate most markets. Bioware made a bold choice in sticking to their RPG guns and going back to their fantasy roots, but had to make gameplay choices that brought the game's style to a more modern audience. As a result, the combat system in Dragon Age Origins strikes a good balance between strategy and action. The game is mainly played in third person, but during combat, a tactical top-down view is enabled to give maximum control over the battlefield. Additionally, Origins features real-time with pause combat, where players can pause the game to issue commands to their party, set up tactical maneuvers, and exploit enemy weaknesses. In terms of character tinkering and traditional RPG and D&D mechanics, the game offers a variety of classes and specializations with a level-up system, each with unique abilities and skill trees, allowing for extensive customization that was further enhanced by a nuanced difficulty system that offered incredible challenge on its highest setting. In addition to all this, players could take control of companions and engage as them, experiencing those companion classes and builds as if they were their own, adding to the variety of gameplay. While simple-looking and passable as hack and slash on the surface, a deep dive into the combat quickly reveals an incredible amount of tactical micromanaging to be had, such as 70 spells and combinations, that pairs extremely well with the AI command system and builds, proving the developers successfully brought traditional combat dressed as modern and got new players invested into it without them even realizing it. Moreover, the simple but engaging crafting system, companion approval and relationship development, and the branching quest design contribute to a gameplay experience that feels both substantial and rewarding. Even years after its release, the mechanics hold up remarkably well, offering a depth that many modern RPGs strive to emulate to this day. Dragon Age Origins didn't just succeed commercially, selling over 3.5 million copies and spawning a franchise, it influenced the RPG genre as a whole. Its emphasis on player choice and narrative depth set new industry standards. Other games in this Best Game Ever series like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and Divinity Original Sin 2 have drawn inspiration from its complex storytelling and character development. Even Baldur's Gate 3 has key callbacks to Origins in the way that party, story, and character development was worked, for instance the way you go to camp and talk to your companions. You would probably be surprised to learn just how influential the title was on the AAA games you enjoy now. For example, Sony Santa Monica's Shayna Moon was inspired by Dragon Age Origins to go into gaming and would ultimately be a producer in the narrative team for God of War and God of War Ragnarok. The game's success also demonstrated the viability of mature, story-driven RPGs in a market increasingly dominated by action-oriented titles with top sellers such as Call of Duty, Left 4 Dead, Batman Arkham Asylum, and Borderlands. Dragon Age Origins proved that there's a substantial audience craving rich narratives and intricate gameplay mechanics, and that fantasy and old-school RPGs were not on their way out. DLC content was planned and delivered without major issue or drama, including an extensive expansion, further cementing the fact that the audience was 100% there for this. In economic terms, the game is estimated to have grossed over $34 million and successfully platformed a franchise leading to Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition that would sell over 2.5 million copies and become Bioware's best-selling game of all time. That is without counting the books, TV shows, comic books, and infinite amounts of merch that add on to the profitability. And where did all that come from? Well, of course, the fan base. Let's look into that. Dragon Age Origins is one of the few IPs launched during this transition period that didn't have reception yo-yo like Demon's Souls and Dragon's Dogma experienced. It was met with immediate and widespread critical acclaim and holds a Metacritic score of 91 on PC, making it one of the most positive titles in the entire platform. It would go on to win Best RPG from the Spike VGA, what we had before the Game Awards, get IGN's 2009 Game of the Year and nominations for Best Writing and Story for GDC Awards, and BAFTA Video Game Awards. But as always, media praise and acknowledgements are secondary to what truly makes these games enter the halls of classics, and that is us, the people who simply love them. The game's release was followed by a vibrant community that extended the life of Dragon Age Origins through fan art, fan fiction, and modding. Bioware released the Dragon Age toolset, allowing players to create their own adventures, characters, and even total conversion mods. The official Bioware forums and fan sites became hubs for discussion, theory crafting, and sharing user-generated content. The passionate fan-base organized events, cosplay gatherings, and online discussions that kept the game's world alive and evolving. This is something that many of you may not know, but Fex was a very active participant in these forums and also funded a large project to archive and save millions of posts for the franchise that were due to be deleted as EA absorbed Bioware and disabled its board in 2016. It was an immense community project, and we got help and permission from Bioware at the time, and it is something we are so happy to have been able to do as we preserve those discussions and feelings that everyone had around those launches. Even over a decade after its release, those posts are still getting views and comments from people still engaging with this game, despite the franchise having 2 sequels that were generally more successful fiscally. The game's deep narrative and complex systems encourage multiple playthroughs, and the modding community continues to produce new content. The impact of Dragon Age Origins paved the way for a successful franchise. Each installment has aimed to build upon the foundation laid by the original, exploring new regions of Thedas and introducing new characters, while trying to maintain the core elements that made the first game a classic. In an industry that's constantly evolving, Dragon Age Origins remains a benchmark for excellence. Its combination of deep lore, complex characters, moral ambiguity, and engaging gameplay creates an experience that's both immersive and thought-provoking. It's a game that doesn't just entertain, but resonates, leaving a lasting impression long after the credits roll. The sequels have been hit and miss with the fan base, who are often taken aback by what are seen as radical changes to the narrative approach, combat, look and feel, and overall design. But the success of Inquisition, selling over 12 million copies, had most convinced that Dragon Age 4 was an inevitability and that it would be produced as something very close to that of the commercially successful formula of Inquisition. With Dragon Age Dreadwolf now becoming Dragon Age the Veilguard and having done several previews, we're now at a point where nobody is certain how the future of the franchise will shape. While the original title was propelled to stardom by its excellent writing and its dedication to delivering exactly what their dark heroic fantasy RPG players wanted, the new installment seems to lose much of the greediness, moral ambiguity, and maturity that players were looking for. As all of you know, I'm an avid reader of fantasy and fiction, and we've had several posts on the channel and polled and know many of you follow high fantasy works such as Brandon Sanderson, Stormlight hype by the way, December is just around the corner, or read interstellar fiction like Red Rising or The Expanse. I know we're all hoping that Veilguard can deliver on those glorious gamified literary notes that we got from Origins, but we're all apprehensive due to the declining writing quality of large studios like EA. We won't know for sure until we get our time with the full game and can produce a full review, but for now all we can do is be positive, so we'll remain hopeful that the team at Bioware can deliver on their promise and give a satisfactory ending to the saga. You can check out our Dragon Age hands-on preview, and you can look forward to a special Dragon Age lore video we've been working on, which we'll publish in just a day or two, that will help you catch up on the whole story of all games so you can better understand where things are right now. So what are your thoughts about Dragon Age Origins? Is it in your pantheon of best games of all time? Will you be playing Veilguard? Let us know in the comments below.